You bent down to check on dinner, and you could barely see through the oven door at all. The glass is coated in a brown, baked-on haze, and the bottom of the oven looks even worse. You have wiped at it with a soapy sponge, and the dark film did not even seem to notice. Maybe you bought a can of oven cleaner, held your breath against the fumes, and scrubbed anyway. It took some of it off, left a harsh smell behind, and a week later the haze was creeping back. Or you ran the self-clean cycle, filled the kitchen with smoke, and still saw streaks on the glass. So you have quietly decided that a cloudy oven door is just something you have to live with. But long before anyone sold a spray can of caustic oven cleaner under the kitchen sink, people kept their ovens and stovetops clean with a simple paste they mixed from the cupboard. No choking fumes, no gloves up to the elbow. No special can to buy again every few months. Just an understanding of what that black film really is, and one simple, cheap paste. In the next few minutes, I'll show you exactly why the glass looks burnt and cloudy, why the harsh sprays are a worse trade than they look, and the forgotten way to clean it. And you are going to see clearly through that oven door again, without a single toxic fume. We are going to do this in 2 parts, and the order of them matters more than you might think. First, we take the burnt, cloudy glass and the greasy oven you have now and get them truly clean. Then, we set up a simple habit so the grease never gets the chance to bake on like that again. Because the second part, the part that almost everyone skips, is the part that decides whether the glass stays clear for a week or stays clear for years, with almost no effort at all. And here is the good news right up front. The whole thing costs about $1 in baking soda. Let me start by naming what you are actually looking at, because it is not really dirt. That brown, baked-on film is not loose grime that a soapy sponge can simply wipe away. It is grease and food splatter that the oven's own heat has slowly baked into a hard, stubborn layer. Most people assume a dark oven film just needs a stronger chemical to finally break it down. So they reach for the harshest spray on the shelf and treat their kitchen like a chemistry lab. The real cause is simpler than that, and it is the very same thing that happens to a cast iron pan. Every time you cook, tiny drops of fat splatter onto the glass and onto the floor of the oven. Then the heat comes on, and that fat does not just dry. It bakes, and it hardens, and it darkens. Layer after layer, meal after meal, that grease polymerizes into a tough, varnish-like film. It is almost the very same process that quietly builds up the seasoning on a well-used iron pan. The only difference is that here, on your oven glass, it is a layer you do not want at all. And because it was built up by heat, no amount of plain soapy water is ever going to lift it off. You are not fighting loose dirt here. You are fighting baked-on, hardened grease bonded to the glass. Once you understand that, the way to remove it becomes obvious, and it is surprisingly gentle. Before we go any further, I put together a small book of these forgotten home methods. The cheap, simple fixes that actually last, and it is linked below if you would like it. And that is the only time I will bring it up until the very end, so let us get back to the oven. Here is the part that most quick tip videos are far too comfortable skipping right past. The modern answer to a greasy oven is almost always a can of heavy-duty oven cleaner. And the main ingredient in most of those cans is a powerful chemical called sodium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide is lye, the same caustic substance that can burn your skin and irritate your lungs. It works, there is no question about that, but you have to open every window and wear gloves to use it. It leaves a harsh residue behind that can smell for the first few times you bake after using it. And it is designed to be used up, so you buy another can the next time the film comes creeping back. The other modern answer is the self-cleaning cycle, and that one has a hidden cost of its own. It heats the oven to an extreme temperature to try to burn all the grease away into fine ash. That intense heat fills the kitchen with smoke and fumes, and it puts real stress on the oven's own parts. It is a known cause of blown fuses and burnt-out heating elements on many ovens over the years. So the two common answers are a caustic spray or a heat cycle that can damage the oven itself. The strongest option is not always the best one. Sometimes it just trades one problem for another. Now let us actually clean it, and the whole method starts with plain baking soda and a little water. Baking soda is a mild alkaline powder, and grease is exactly what a mild alkali loves to break down. It is just abrasive enough to scrub the hardened film, but far too soft to ever scratch the glass. In a small bowl, stir baking soda into a little water until you have a thick, spreadable paste. Make sure the oven is completely cool and switched off before you put your hands anywhere inside it. Spread that paste thickly over the cloudy glass and over the baked-on grease on the oven floor. Now, leave it alone, because this quiet waiting is the part that does most of the real work for you. Give it at least 15 minutes for a light film, or leave it on overnight for a heavy one. As it sits there, the paste slowly loosens the grip that the baked grease has on the glass. Come back and wipe the paste away with a damp cloth, and most of that film will come away with it. For the stubborn spots that remain, take a plastic scraper or a razor blade held nearly flat. Hold the blade at a very low angle against the glass and gently shear the hardened patches away. Kept almost flat like that, the blade slides under the grease without ever scratching the glass. Work in short, patient strokes, and you will watch the last of that dark film lift right off. Once the grease is off, there is one more simple step to leave the glass looking truly clear. Lightly mist the glass with a little plain vinegar, and it will fizz against any baking soda left behind. That gentle reaction helps lift the last of the powdery residue, and it rinses away without streaks. Wipe it dry with a clean cloth, and you should be able to see straight through the door again. Now, let me be honest with you about one kind of oven haze that this method cannot reach. On many ovens, the door is made of 2 panes of glass, with a sealed gap in between them. Sometimes, the film you can see is not on the surface at all, but trapped between those 2 panes. No paste on earth will reach that, because you simply cannot get a cloth in between the glass. Reaching it means carefully taking the door apart, and that is a bigger job for another day. If your surface is clean but a faint haze remains deep inside, that trapped film is very likely why. It is worth knowing before you scrub away at glass that was already as clean as it was going to get. For the grease you can actually reach, though, the paste and the flat blade handle it completely. There is a good reason this simple paste has been the standard way to clean ovens for generations. Long before a shelf of spray cleaners existed, a greasy oven was cleaned with washing soda and effort. Baking soda and its slightly stronger cousin, washing soda, were what people had, and they worked well. The gentle chemistry behind it has not changed at all. A mild alkali still breaks down grease today. What changed is that companies found they could sell a faster, harsher version of it in a can. The faster version comes with fumes, with gloves, and with a warning label a full paragraph long. The forgotten version comes with a bowl, a spoon, and a little bit of patience while it sits and works. It trades a few minutes of scrubbing for none of the harsh chemistry, and it costs almost nothing. That trade made good sense for our grandparents, and with a clear head it still makes sense now. The slower method was never the weaker one. It was simply the one that respected the room you cook in. Now a few honest words about where to be careful, because a clean oven is never worth an injury. Always make sure the oven is fully cool and turned off before you reach inside it to clean. Keep the baking soda paste off the heating elements and away from any open vents inside the oven. Some ovens have a special coating on the inside walls that cleans itself during the heat cycle. If yours does, do not scrub those coated walls with paste or a blade, because it can ruin the coating. Check your oven's manual first and use this paste method mainly on the door glass and the plain floor. A razor blade is genuinely sharp, so keep it flat, keep your fingers clear, and store it safely after. If you ever do use a stronger cleaner, never mix it with anything else, and never with vinegar or bleach. Wear gloves if your skin is at all sensitive, because even baking soda can dry your hands over time. None of this is dangerous when you take your time, but a careful, unhurried hand is always the right one. Respect the tools. Work only when the oven is cold, and this is one of the safest cleaning jobs there is. That is the whole trade, really. A little patience in exchange for a clean oven and clean air to breathe. Quick question for you while we are all here together on the subject of the kitchen. Tell me down in the comments how long it has been since you could actually see through your oven door. Now let us talk about cost, because this is where that simple bowl of paste really pulls ahead. A can of heavy-duty oven cleaner costs a few dollars, and you buy it again each time the film returns. Add in the windows you open and the fumes you breathe in, and the real price is higher than the label. The self-clean cycle looks free, right up until the day it costs you a blown fuse or a burnt-out element. Now compare all of that to a box of baking soda, which costs about $1 and lasts for many cleanings. A small plastic scraper or a pack of razor blades is only a couple of dollars and you reuse it for years. A bottle of plain vinegar for the final wipe is a few dollars and handles 100 other jobs at home. So for just $1 or $2 per cleaning, and with no fumes at all, you get a genuinely clear oven door. One path is a harsh can that you keep on rebuying, the other is a spoon of powder from your own cupboard. And prices vary by where you live, of course, but that basic comparison does not really change at all. So here is exactly what to do. Spread out so that it never becomes one big dreaded chore. This weekend, when the oven is cold, spread the baking soda paste over the glass and the oven floor. Leave it to sit while you do something else, then wipe it off and shear the last spots with the flat blade. Finish with the vinegar mist and a dry cloth and enjoy actually being able to watch your food cook again. From then on, the whole trick is to never let the grease bake into a hard layer in the first place. When something bubbles over or splatters, just wipe it up once the oven is cooled before it bakes on. Slide a plain baking tray onto the bottom rack to catch drips, but never cover a vent with foil. Every month or so, give the glass a quick paste wipe before any haze has a chance to build back up. A film you clean while it is still thin takes a couple of minutes and never needs a blade at all. That is the real secret here. Small, regular attention always beats one big, harsh, once-a-year battle. The grease only turns into that stubborn black varnish when it is left to bake on, over and over again. Catch it early and often, and your oven door simply never gets the chance to go cloudy on you again. It is the very same lesson as a well-kept pan or a fresh-smelling fridge, just applied to the oven. Keep the surface clean, and the problem never gets a foothold to build itself up on. Notice that almost every step here is about preventing the buildup, not about blasting it away. Baked-on grease needs splatter left to harden, so a wiped oven simply has nothing to bake on. The deeper lesson here is not really about oven doors at all when you stop and think about it. It is about reaching for the gentlest thing that works instead of the harshest thing on the shelf. A caustic spray promises a fast result and hands you fumes and a can to keep on rebuying. A simple paste asks for a little patience and gives you a clean oven and clean air in return. Choose the mild method over the harsh one. Prevent the buildup instead of battling it later on. Work with simple chemistry instead of against your own lungs, and let small habits do the heavy lifting. Do this once, and then keep it up lightly, and your oven door stays clear with almost no effort. Open the oven to check on dinner, and simply see it, clearly, the way you were always supposed to. The black film was never something you had to live with. It was only grease that had been left to bake. Clean it once, wipe it often, and that cloudy door quietly becomes a thing of the past. If this changed how you think about that cloudy oven door, subscribe to The Forgotten Method, where every single week we bring back a practical old method that still works beautifully today. Tell me down in the comments which part of your home or kitchen has been giving you the most trouble, because it just might end up becoming the subject of the very next video on this channel. And the full collection of these forgotten household methods is waiting in the book linked below. That is the very last time I will mention it to you, exactly as I promised near the beginning. Next, on The Forgotten Method, we look at the old way to dissolve the chalky lime scale on your kettle, your shower head, and your faucets without buying a single expensive bottle of Descolor. Sometimes the method we need most is simply the one that we quietly forgot along the way.